Thanks for staying. Welcome back to the marketplace. Now, former governor of the Bank of Ghana and Vice President Pakwesi Misata is dead. The former governor is said to have passed on this morning after he was rushed to the 37 military hospital. Let's get to a brief history of Pakwesi Misata. That was a brief history of former Vice President Pakwesi Misata. Now, what about some of the key regulatory interventions that he supervised as governor of the central bank from 2009 to 2012? There's more in this report.
During his tenure as Bank of Ghana governor, Misata was instrumental in implementing the Non-Bank Financial Institution Act for Savings and Loans Company, which saw the minimum capital requirement increase then to 7 million Ghana cedis. He also oversaw the merger between the Trust Bank and EcoBank Ghana. Under his supervision, he was credited in sanctioning some banks as well as a number of forex bureaus in the country over the flouting of regulations covering foreign exchange transfers. He's also credited for works to upgrade the 50 Ghana cedi note to secure the bank note. Pakwesi Misata assumed office as governor of the Bank of Ghana in October 1, 2009, following his appointment by the late Professor John Evans Atamils.
Meanwhile, the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, has paid glowing tribute to his former work colleague. Dr. Addison worked closely with the late Misata at the Bank of Ghana as a director of research during his tenure as a central bank governor.
This is really very sad for all of us. Today is my birthday, so I had just come out of a prayer meeting with my priest, and then I had jumped into the car on the way to work, and only to hear this on the air. It's really very sad.
Okay, any memories? I know you worked closely with him. Any?
Yes, the former Vice President, Mr. Misata, was a very pleasant gentleman. I worked closely with him for 2 years out of the 3 years that he was the governor as Director of Research. Went on many international meetings with him as a member of his delegation. I think he was very kind, very thoughtful person, listened to technical advice, and very professional in his work.
So do you think that we would indeed miss him?
Well, let me tell you, during his time at the Bank of Ghana, he undertook a couple of initiatives which improved the welfare of the staff significantly. He is very much loved by the staff of the Bank of Ghana, and all of us will sorely miss him. Thank you.
Anything for the family?
Our sincere condolences to the family. I know Chabish very well. He was my house prefect in Pika, and sincere condolences to the wife.
All right, so let's still stay further on this particular development. And joining me in studio now to share some more thoughts on the demise of the central bank governor is my colleague George Wiafe. Now, George, how do you know this man?
Covering the Bank of Ghana from afar when he was at the Ministry of Finance and all the rest, you read a lot about him. But covering developments at the Bank of Ghana, we got closer to him to know his workings and all the rest. A very hard-working person. Engaging him. Also, you get the understanding he's a very firm person, so certain regulatory actions that took during his tenure. Like you thought that, oh, Bank of Ghana will be soft on these institutions. But at the end of the day, the governor stood his ground. There were instances where he even disagreed with the finance minister at that time over certain issues and disbursement. And we even had news about checks from the ministry being bounced and all those things. So despite he coming across as a calm person, when he says that this is the action the Bank of Ghana is going to take, he's going to ensure that those things are done.
How did you respond generally to the media who interacted with him?
I think he wasn't somebody who was initially a media-friendly person, as in the granting of interviews and you want this one, let's talk about this and all those things. He believed that NPC offers a fine avenue for you to ask those questions and let he address it. Apart from NPC, we are done. But later he gradually opened up to the media in terms of interviews, and when you want something from him, when you push a little bit harder, he would open up to you and explain certain actions or why the Bank of Ghana is taking certain actions, and he believed that that should be seen as in the broader interest of the economy, because he thought that the Bank of Ghana had a strong role to play in ensuring that the city stabilizes family and all those things, and therefore the Bank of Ghana has to do that. And he was very, very firm on those regulatory actions and how it should be implemented.
I believe you've been interacting with some other, financial stakeholders, financial industry stakeholders. What are they?
Alas, and then he's president of the Ghana Association of Bankers. He also said that it was very saddened to hear this news, and having worked with him, he's a very hard-working person. He, behind the scenes, would also explain to the players why certain regulatory actions are being taken, and they should see that as in the interest of the commercial banks if they want to ensure that those who are strong and well capitalized play in the financial space. So he talked about the personal engagement, and he being the president of the association, a lot of engagement between him and Mr. Arthur, and he thought that he was a very fine gentleman, a very hard-working person. He did a lot to help develop the banking sector during his tenure.
Thank you very much for those thoughts.
Thank you so much.
And my colleague George Biafra sharing his thoughts on the demise of the former Vice President, who was also the former Governor of the Central Bank, Pakwesi Emisa Arthur. Now, away from this issue, fuel prices are expected to go down marginally again from next week. This is based on industry data and some calculations done by Joy Business. But what is driving this reduction, and would most of the oil marketing companies reduce their prices this time round? Details in the following report.
Our calculations reveal that diesel and petrol should all go down by almost 2% per litre. So based on these calculations, a gallon of petrol should be sold at 21 cedis 42 pesos. A gallon of diesel should be going for 21 cedis 37 pesos from next week. That's if we factor in the 1.9% reduction per litre. But looking at the fact that most of the oil marketing companies did not respond to the last projected reduction of more than 2%, it is unclear for now whether the over 90 companies will do same from next week. Already some analysts are raising issues with this development, especially when oil marketing firms are quick to adjust prices when it's going up, but slow when prices are supposed to be reduced. Joy Business understands the expected reduction is due to the fairly stable cedi and crude prices on the international market.
The National Petroleum Authority, NPA, has presented progress of work so far on the implementation of the cylinder recirculation policy to the Council of State. The presentation also outlined objectives and the way forward for the rollout of the new policy. Karen Dudu reports.
The rollout of the recirculation model in January 2019 is expected to provide a safer and more efficient way of distributing LPG, following the gas explosion at the atomic junction and other previous incidents. Despite some concerns by the Ghana LPG Operators Association as well as LPG marketers, the new policy will deprive their businesses and result in unemployment. The National Petroleum Authority is not ready to budge. The NPA today presented its plans on the recirculation model to the Council of State, explaining its preparation so far to the Council. Hassan Tampuli is CEO of the NPA.
We've circulated, the requirements to members of the implementation committee, and like you heard me mention, it's a very broad-based implementation committee consisting of members of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy, representatives from Ghana Standards Authority, EPA, Factories Inspectorate Department, Town and Country Planning Department, now LUSPA, Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, Fire Service, civil society is represented by Imani, Chamber of Bulk Distributors, Association of Oil Marketing Companies, LPG Marketers Association, LPG Operators Association, LPG Tanker Drivers Association are all represented on this committee. And I believe that by the nature of the work that we have done so far, it's appropriate for us to now seek to engage other stakeholders who are also interested in the LPG value chain in the country.
So far, these companies, Quantum Energy, Well, and Puma, have been selected to construct bottling plants across the country for gas supply.
The IMF says it remains confident in its 3-year extended program with Ghana. Country representative to Ghana, Natalia Koliadina, has been speaking with Joy Business at the 5th National Civil Society Forum on the Ghana IMF program. There's more in this report.
The IMF country representative to Ghana, Natalia Koliadina, is confident the ongoing IMF program with Ghana will go a long way to improve macroeconomic efficiency. The 3-year extended credit facility arrangement with Ghana has so far been opposed by sections of the public who say it's time Ghana pulls out of the program once and for all. But speaking to Joy Business, Natalia believes active debt management and ambitious fiscal consolidation under the program have potential of improving debt stability.
Macroeconomic stabilization, it is ongoing, and we see that the debt has started declining. Inflation is subsiding. Monetary policy has been adequately tight, which helped to bring inflation down and to stabilize the exchange rate. Lending rates started to subside, and here we are to speak about the role of the CSOs, and we believe that the CSOs can contribute to making good policies and reforms irreversible. And the CSOs need to engage in a dialogue with the government on policies and reforms and their implementation. They can become a trusted advisor of the government and an accurate source of information for their constituencies.
Meanwhile, economist Professor Bokpin argues that the efficiency of the IMF's extended credit facility arrangement with Ghana will be indicated in the overall performance of the economy.
What is on the table right now is how do we see out the end of the program in a manner that is beneficial to Ghana. If you look at the macro level statistics, it looks like we have made some progress. Not exactly what we are supposed to be, but certain progress have been made. We cannot deny that. When you look at inflation, even if you look at our debt sustainability, we are not there yet. But if you look at the rate of debt accumulation, it's lower now in the last 1.5 years than it was 2 years ago, than it was 3 years ago, and all of that. When you also look at the downside in terms of debt sustainability, GDP had picked up.
Earlier on, a team from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, visited Ghana to discuss recent economic development and the outlook for the remainder of the year.
Now, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, has pledged support for government's decision to focus on industrialization. Speaking to Joy Business, CEO of the association, Seth Chuma Kwabwa, says more private-public consultations will be employed to advance the cause of the private sector in the days ahead. He was speaking at the launch of the AGI's 60th anniversary here in Accra. Charles Aite again reports.
The AGI will deepen engagement with government on exploring practical ways of making the manufacturing sector a leading contributor to GDP. Latest growth figures show that the sector contributed 638 million cedis in the first quarter of 2018 as compared to 619 million cedis in the first quarter of 2017. But speaking to Joy Business at the sidelines of the launch of the 60th anniversary of the AGI, Seth Chuma Kwabwa says that the sector needs more incentives to improve itself.
There's still a lot more that can be done. We still believe that industrial tariffs should come down so that we become competitive. Then the financial sector is also a challenge. A lot of our companies are borrowing at very high interest rates. Even though we see effort from government by the reduction in the policy rate, consistent reduction in that, the inflation rate coming down, and a few things, macroeconomic environment is improving, but then it needs to translate into lower cost of doing business. When we do all these, and we are competitive, then we will not only target the Ghana market, we also target outside market.
On his part, Trade Minister Alan Tremantin re-echoed government resolve to put in place the right framework for the private sector to thrive.
Institutionalized mechanism for consultation between the private sector and the government. And so within the next couple of months, we are going to launch this private-public dialogue mechanism. And this mechanism would have a climax every year at a presidential business summit, at which a Ghana Business Compact will be signed between the government and the private sector. We establish key performance indicators for government, but we also establish performance indicators for the private sector.
The launch of AGI's 60th anniversary will see the association embark on a series of events to foster private sector growth.
Now, some organizations who listened to business proposals from participants of the Cosmos Innovation Center Agrotech Challenge are already expressing interest in partnering the young entrepreneurs. The business concepts are expected to offer technology-based solutions to challenges in the agri value chain. Some members of the ideation team tell Joy Business's athlete Arthur the agribusiness ideas proposed by the teams are very impressive.
14 groups of young entrepreneurs came prepared, ready to convince judges drawn from the technology and agribusiness sector.
SikaSave has decided that for Mary and her friends, we are going to provide them with a secured savings platform.
This is the second competitive pitching event of the Cosmos Innovation Center Agrotech Challenge, which seeks to unearth innovative technology-based ideas that provide solutions to various problems facing Ghana's agricultural value chain.
We are not dealing with one supplier. We have a number of them, and we're actually working through the Fish Association. And so we have a collective group of people we are working with. So it's not just an individual.
It's a farm-based, agricultural-based recruitment agency that we want to bring out, where we'll be able to provide a platform for commercial farmers, agro-processors to assess labor, being it skilled labor, unskilled labor, or casual labor.
Director of the Cosmos Innovation Center, George Sapon, tells Joy News the presence of various players in the agritech sector at the pitch event is very encouraging.
I think I can call about 8 or 9 companies that are present over here, the likes of Yara, the likes of Fuma Energy, and several of them that are here. Their CEOs actually are here, so it tells you that there is a great interest, and we want to expand that interest.
Director of NIIT, Yao Amwaten, who is also a judge, says it's commendable that the Cosmos Innovation Center is empowering young people and encouraging them to use technology to explore the many opportunities in the agriculture sector.
The whole concept, and that's why I commend KIC for this, because technology was seen to be there, and then we always cry that people are not going into agriculture. So they pick something that a lot of young people are excited about, which is technology, and then associated it to agric. So now you see all the people here, very young, bright people, now they want to get into that space. So I think that is what really becomes a selling proposition.
Managers of some agritech firms said they were impressed with the pitches and would not hesitate to offer support to young entrepreneurs to start their businesses.
We are always ready to support people who may come to us with ideas, with experience sharing, even with technology. If somebody is developing some solution that you feel that you have an API that they can actually plug into to use for their programs, you're always ready to support them to be able to do it. You're also ready to the experience is very, very important. I mean, you cannot have a business in Africa without having to learn from people who have been in that business for a very long time. And that's why I encourage every one of them to be able to come to us, go to people that they have so much experience in the sector and learn from them.
Some business concepts presented this year include farm management, access to information, transportation and storage, produce quality and standards, as well as soil quality and pest control. The judges will now collate the scores and what they are basically looking out.
And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Many thanks for your company, and let's meet again next week for more business stories. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good afternoon.